Hello there, my name is DC Wood. I'm the writer of online audiobook Nameless and the novel The Saviour, Book 1. And I'm also currently performing my awful poems on stage on YouTube at the moment. This is my latest project. It's a audiobook that unofficially continues the adventures of the Queen of Swords, the cult television series. And I'd like to present you with an excerpt of it now. It's going to be for release on May the 11th, 2011 on iTunes and Audiobooks.com. So here's a little extract of it now, so you can know what to expect from that. Enjoy, and please provide your support. The author wishes to thank Steve Plunkett and Spencer Proffer for permitting use of their song, Behind the Mask. The author would also like to thank Jose and Suzanne Feliciano for their help, as well as Robert Vincent. Queen of Swords, Riding Towards Sunset. Written and read by DC Wood.
Behind the mask, where the secret lies. Behind the mask, there's a hero's eyes. Everyone wears a disguise. We've all got secrets to hide. Behind the mask, behind the mask, oye, te digo, mira detrás de cada careta.
The captain of the guard then looked at Sergeant Williams, his family, and his men disembark from the boats. Grisham's men helped secure things and unload, with Lionel shouting orders to help them get the supplies and weapons out of the boats and into the wagons, assigning different men to haul and carry the barrels, weapons and rations. Williams then helped his wife and daughter step off onto land, before turning back to help one of his men get a keg of gunpowder off the boat and into the arms of another soldier, who subsequently took it to one of the wagons ready for transport. Ah well, thought Grisham, eyebrows raised in an attempt to try and salvage some fun out of this dreary labour. He is an American, she'll be a hoot. He shook the reins, commanding his horse to ride on to greet the new sergeant. Williams helped another of his troops load his personal trunk onto a wagon, then turned to meet his commanding officer for the first time. Maria was standing with Teresa, out of everyone's way, and just amazed to be here. Grisham took a moment to observe the sergeant. He was quite tall and well built, slightly taller than the captain, and with short brown hair, a small quiff at the front, and quite tufted at the back, like it could be grown into a ponytail. He had a well-trimmed goatee, soulless grey eyes, short proper nose, and a face that had seen all the horrors of war, and had both been scarred and toughened by them. "Captain Marcus Grisham," saluted Lionel as he stood to attention. "Sergeant Lionel Williams reporting for duty, sir." "Well, that's really pleasing to know," dismissed the captain, making it no secret how he couldn't care less. Noting the small number of new soldiers now conversing with those of Santa Helena, Grisham scoffed. "That's all you brought with you?" "Oh, that can be spared, Captain," Williams replied bluntly, deciding instantly that he disliked the lazy, whinging superior. "I believe a term is, eat it and like it." Grisham narrowed his eyes at the sergeant and cocked his head to one side. Through an icy voice, he replied back condescendingly, "Is that mouthing off to a superior officer, Sergeant?" "Just telling it like it is, sir. Don't want to insult your intelligence." Grisham stared at Williams icily for a few seconds. Maria fought the urge to kick her husband. That mouth of his had gotten them into trouble too many times. Eventually, though, the captain just burst into laughter. "You've got brains and balls, Williams," nodded Grisham after settling down. "I like that." Turning to see the confused little girl about to question what he meant, Grisham said to Maria, "Sorry, ma'am, I shouldn't swear in front of kiddies, I know. I blame my parents for that. Captain Grisham at your service." "Charmed," nodded Maria, trying very hard not to make her return smile come across as false. "My men will escort you and your daughter safely to your new home in the town," informed the captain, eyeing her as though he wanted to sleep with her. Then, turning his attention back to Williams, he said, "Sergeant, your men will be taken for briefing and initiation. You're to ride with me to Colonel Montoya's office." "Right away, sir," nodded Lionel affirmatively, keeping his observation of Grisham's subtle eyeing up of Maria separate and buried under professionalism. He picked up his sack and rifle and turned to kiss his wife and daughter goodbye, promising to see them later. Lionel informed his battalion their instructions, then turned to mount himself and his belongings on the horse that was ready for him. "Welcome to Santa Helena, eh, Captain?" asked Williams, striking up conversation for no real reason. "Oh, I think you're going to like it here," grinned Grisham, thinking the new arrival could bring something refreshing along, aside from a lovely wife. The two soldiers had left their men to their own business as they rode off from the beach and into town with all haste. As Maria and her daughter got onto a wagon to be taken to their new home, she knew from the way Grisham had glanced at her that at the very least she was going to have to fight off a foul-mouthed womanizer. Not the kind of influence little girls should be exposed to upon entering a new world. The noblewoman and the Englishman looked up at one another and simultaneously recoiled, both trying too hard to hide their embarrassment and regain some kind of full stature. "Sorry, Doctor, where are my manners? No, Senorita, by all means." They both just paused, cleared their throats, put on smiles of common sense, and simultaneously helped themselves to an apple each. A silent, smiling martyr, who had obviously observed the whole thing, walked up to Tessa's side to break the needlessly awkward moment. "Doctor?" she greeted cheerfully. "Senorita," nodded Helm, as both he and Tessa paid at the same time. "So how are you? Same as everyone else? Enjoying life for the moment?" The threesome proceeded to move out from the crowd and onto the open streets, chatting about recent events, such as the Queen's most recent exploit. Bandits had recently attempted to rob the church and its father, Padre Quintera, who had recently organised a huge fiesta for charity. Several members of the aristocracy, including Tessa, had donated for the event to help the poor. The Queen had saved the Padre's life and other hostages from the bandits, as well as protecting the church and the money to help the cause. "It's bizarre how it all coincided with the Colonel's recent financial difficulty," remarked Tessa, feigning the inability to put two and two together. "Yes, very bizarre," nodded the doctor, smirking slightly. "We should all be thankful that the Queen was there to ensure no one was hurt," came in Marta, "and that the fiesta will hopefully be allowed to go off as God intended." "Indeed so. Still, with our esteemed governor too busy sulking at the moment, we shouldn't have too much to worry about." "Really, Doctor?" exclaimed Tessa, pretending to be shocked. "It's not at all like you to be so harsh and insulting." 10 minutes later, on the balcony outside of Montoya's office, looking over the square of the town, Grisham was following the Colonel, whose mood had lightened enough to allow the captain back into private discussion. "He's a golden boy, through and through," was Grisham's opinion. "Precisely," smiled Montoya, "and that is why I like him. Honest soldiers are always easy to manipulate and control. They are remarkably efficient, as his background entails, and he sees the world in black and white. He knows who the enemies are. Yeah, corrupt soldiers and politicians and bandits, Grisham. Once I described the Queen of Swords to the Golden Sergeant. He merely set his sights on dealing with her purely on her outlaw status. No questions asked. Do you really think Williams is going to fit in? Asked a cynical captain. Sergeant Lionel Williams with thumbs-up approval from the Duke of Wellington? In our happy little club, it's not a matter of whether he will fit in, Grisham, snapped the colonel, annoyed by the crude perspective of his captain. It's a matter of him doing what he is here to do, and making sure he is as happy as possible. 2 days later, Marta looked all around her. Then she tugged the reins sharply to order the horses to stop. Getting down from the driver's seat, the gypsy went to the back of the wagon. Then she took one final look around her. They were a very safe distance away from the hacienda, on the trail towards out of town. Same old desert, occupied by only the same old sand, hills, cacti, rocks, and rugged terrain. And the occasional fleeting form of dashing life. We're clear, smiled Marta, as she pulled away the canvas sheets. No one has followed us. The Queen of Swords then emerged from the back of the wagon and leapt down onto the ground. Hopefully that should give us a head start, said the vigilante as she walked over to nearby wild bushes, where her horse, Chico, had been tied several hours earlier, ready and waiting for her. Or at least get there in time to save them. It's easy to assume that no one will be the wiser to the Queen coming to the rescue, warned Marta gravely. But Montoya doesn't plan gossip in his most talkative drunken soldiers for no reason. It smells of a trap. What choice do I have, Marta? Asked the Queen, as she checked that all her weapons were present before mounting her steed. Alvar Garcia was a good family man. His death left his wife and children in debt and their farm in trouble. And you know Montoya's not interested in excuses. He'll send his thugs in to arrest them, then hang them. He gets the land, remaining holdings and livestock to do with as he pleases. I've got to save them. You are aware, of course, that you may cross paths with the new sergeant. Yeah, I knew it was going to be inevitable. Tessa drifted away for a moment, thinking about his situation before turning back to Marta. 2 days ago he seemed nothing more than a decent man who knew what he was doing. An honest soldier. But you still have doubts? I've been fighting soldiers for a long time now, Marta. I haven't come across any to make me change my opinion of them. So is that why you befriended his wife instantly when you met her yesterday? The gypsy servant asked incredulously. Just to be sure? Or to find out what Sergeant Williams wouldn't tell you? I wouldn't do anything like that, the Queen assured her best friend adamantly. Maria's a nice woman. Friendly, outgoing, and I kind of got the impression that she seeks thrills of her own. To more people who hide behind masks, then, Marta pointed out. Maybe. But if Williams isn't corrupt, is he here to help me? You will know soon enough. But I would wager he is here to help Santa Helena, not bandits. Tessa's masked eyes narrowed coldly upon hearing that tone. The people who know you know the truth, Tessa. Strangers do not, explained Marta soothingly. And if the sergeant is honest, Montoya won't need to manipulate him. Just point him in the direction. Then he's just another enemy in my eyes, then, shrugged the Queen. Same way they view me. Be careful, said Marta, smiling with concern and affection, as she stepped back to give her mistress and surrogate daughter some space to ride out on. Always, nodded the Queen with confidence and return love. Be back in time for dinner. Vamonos! And so the Queen of Swords sped off on her horse to once again save the day, with Marta looking on with enormous concern and pride. And so begins Tessa Alvarado's ride towards sunset. Be sure to check in the newest adventures of the Queen of Swords every week on iTunes and Audiobooks.com. Riding Towards Sunset is written and read by D.C. Wood. Queen of Swords was created by Fireworks Entertainment and is owned by Content Film. This story is not affiliated with the rights holders or the show's original creators. No infringement is intended. This story is for entertainment purposes only. No profit is being made. All sound effects are courtesy of the Free Sound Project. Behind the Mask is performed by Jose Feliciano and composed and owned by Steve Plunkett and Spencer Proffer. It is used with permission. Copyright 2010 DC Wood. Distributed by Audiobooks.com. Check out the other works of DC Wood at www.dcwood.co.uk.